Episode 6, 7 Gens Maps. Hello, my name is Samanthe McCarthy, and I'm the innovator of the Global Green Democracy Initiative, G.G.D.I, 7 Gens, and the voice and face of the YouTube channel at Sammy71 Earth. That was developed so that I can go through the entire textbook, the Global Green Democracy Initiative, all the different programs and projects, debunk misinformation, and answer questions about the system. I live in a small city called Thunder Bay in northwestern Ontario, Canada, and I'm a wife of over 30 years to my life partner and a mother of 2 grown adults, and I have been concerned about the environment, as well as the health and social outcomes for future generations for most of my life. Please watch the videos in order, as I have set the textbook and the videos in a way that will make it easier for readers and watchers to be able to understand. You can't skip or miss videos or chapters because each element is relevant to the entire system. Each element is linked to the next, so if you miss some, you miss a big part of how it works. But also, the G.G.D.I has the goal to heal humanity and move our world to sustainability, so the whole system is a means to an end. This is the 6th episode of the Global Green Democracy Initiative textbook podcast, which will now go over the overview of the 7 Gens map. I have to disclose that while I will be introducing the 7 Gen map system, I can't introduce all the map parts and relationships with the G.G.D.I program until after the 58 episodes. So it is important to introduce the elements and programming only for 7 Gens so that you can see which programs it is responsible for. Once all of these introductions have been made, the reader or watcher will be introduced to how each and every part that is partnered with another will then be explained. It is in this episode we will be discussing the corporation that I'm going to build in Thunder Bay, Ontario, which will be the headquarters for our Canadian and international partnerships. Designed in the system is funding for 7 Gens to invest in environmental, health, social justice, animal welfare, and protection, as well as social programs. 7 Gens programming is the sister program to the G.G.D.I programs. And every program has a means to an end, to heal humanity and move our world to sustainability so that our children no longer fear the future. G.G.D.I and 7 Gens board will consist of me, Samanthe McCarthy, or a representative, a 7 Gens representative from the country that partners with G.G.D.I and 7 Gens, a First Nation representation, government representation, financial system representation, youth representation between the ages of 18 and 30, industry, which will be overseen by research and development. By building in the system checkpoints for accountability will be our best defense from the current system's problems. This will keep our mission easier to accomplish because when you have all the different demographics being represented, you make sure that the system is built with everyone as a priority. That is the only way to stop us from repeating history. G.G.D.I and 7 Gens' mission is that all decisions made in the system will be agreed upon by the parties listed above. Every decision to invest will be based on the effects it'll have on the next 7 generations. And no money will be spent that hurts the environment and all life forms, regardless of cost. All decisions must be to make the world a better place, and the original mission plan can never be changed, and new policies cannot alter the mission of positive outcomes. And this is in place so that no life forms can be negatively impacted by the programs we are investing in. This rule is in perpetuity. This plan is to make it heaven on earth for all, and 7 Gens will be based in Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada, and will be the head office for the rest of Canada and the countries we partner with. First Nation division will be for their people to have access to housing, clean water, and sustainable foods. This division will receive 10% of all the money collected from the country by 7 Gens, and the programs will be invested in will be the environment, chronic diseases, addictions, protecting humans and wildlife, land, migration pathways, historical landmarks with accurate history, air and water filtration on industry, a universal pension plan, 7 Gens Global Lending Fund, and to strengthen democracy. There will also be investments into clean water initiatives. To assist with reconciliation, my corporation will be transferring 10% of the money to our First Nation division so that they can use those funds to invest in housing, clean water, and healthy, affordable, locally grown food. This is my gift to First Nation people, but also for them to know that they are woven throughout the system. So this money is just extra funds to help heal them from the generational trauma colonization has left on their people. people. The programs are different from Canada to developed and developing countries because of each country's need. 7Gens programming in both G.G.D.I and 7Gens both have the same elements, such as Element 1, Earth Disposal Tax, EDT, which is green. Element 2 is the Instant Earth Investment Rebate, IEIR, which has 2 blues. Element 3, Tourist Footprint Tax, TFT, which is red. Element 4, Sales is brown. Element 5, Interest is purple. And Element 6, the funnel for the whole system into health and social programming, is pink. The goal of the system is the exact opposite of the current one that we are used to. Instead of all the money funneling up to the 1% so that they can hoard their money, the G.G.D.I and 7Gens will funnel money back into health and social programming to heal humanity through programming that causes great suffering and distress to the 99% of us. The programs and projects that I have picked for Canada were based on some of the needs I saw in the healthcare system and chronic diseases that my loved ones suffered from and are currently suffering from, and areas that are so underfunded in our system that people are dying from the trauma that the system failed to provide them. We will start with Element 1, 7Gens programming, A, Canada Earth Disposal Tax, EDT, 7Gens program number 1, the Karen McCarthy Lightspeed Generating Water Rail System, or CMLS GWRS. Investments in the largest green energy generating station that will carry and generate electricity and transport clean water across countries. We need to find a substitute for our coal and nuclear power plants, and this is one of the goals of the investment, to find the best and largest way to utilize our ability to collect green energy from solar, night, wind, hydroelectric, and collect energy from our rails. Our collective future of the world depends on us making the uncomfortable changes needed to ensure our world is sustainable, regardless of how long it takes and how much it costs. Our fossil fuel industry is not going to be happy about this, but we can't keep consuming our limited natural resources because our children and future generations depend on us. To make the changes needed for their sustainability, we will build and expand our ability to collect energy away from city centers so that we don't disturb their expansion. Once up and running with zero energy costs, extra energy generated will be sold back at a discount to the grid. Fresh water carried will be at a discounted price to make it affordable for fresh water. Ticket sales will pay for costs, and any extra money made will be reinvested back into the system. This element has several microsystems within it, or any extra money will be funneled to number 6, health and social programming. A, Canada Earth Disposal Tax, EDT, 7Gens, program number 2, Tony Jocko's Diabetes and Chronic Disease Center of Excellence for First Nation people. In order to improve the health outcomes of First Nation people from diabetes and other chronic diseases, they need access to evidence-based practice and preventative medicines. This clinic is designed to house both First Nation traditional healing with Western medicines in a safe and ethical manner. Laboratory tests of kidneys, liver, and other tests to ensure that we are doing it safely. We will be able to offer First Nation traditional medicines, and when the disease changes, add in what is considered best practice from our medical care system. Tony Jocko was pivotal for us to have the right people at our meetings to equalize access to current best practices so that the outcomes would improve for First Nation people. It took almost 2 years to get rid of our healthcare discrimination that our First Nation people were suffering from. This neglect was and is still having devastating outcomes of early morbidity and mortality, as well as pain and suffering. Tony asked me to build him my dream diabetes center of excellence, so I wrote the proposal that weekend. I also added other chronic diseases that are being under or untreated in First Nation communities, and because of this, healthcare discrimination and is causing great suffering. These clinics will also incorporate interpreters and bring First Nation languages into our healthcare system. The clinic will start sharing data and improving outcomes, making traditional healing and medicines a part of our healthcare system. We will include support for treatment for early peripheral vascular disease to prevent amputations and treat ulcers early with the best research and practices. Other chronic diseases treated will be anemia as well as autoimmune diseases to start with. A, Canada Earth Disposal Tax, EDT, 7Gens program number 3, Trauma and Addiction Centers for All People that is First Nation traditional healing focused. These clinics clinics will be designed to heal the generational trauma from colonization, residential schools, and the churches. This will bring traditional healing in First Nation languages into our healthcare system. By including and designing these clinics First Nation focused, it will enable First Nation people to heal themselves and introduce their beautiful spiritual teaching using their traditional healing and medicines from their ancestors. This will help from losing these precious traditional healing methods, but also sharing their traditional teaching with non-Indigenous people suffering from addictions that our healthcare system is failing. The programming will have a structure and will collaborate to have an all-inclusive way of healing from generational trauma. The goal is to ensure that all people have services and support to help them deal with the trauma that we have all experienced in our lives. Canada Earth Disposal Tax, EDT, 7 Gens, Program Number 4, Chantel or Shawnee Ferguson, Sharon Shayfew, Nicola Bartholomew Babalu Caveza, Autoimmune Research and Treatment Center of Excellence. Each of these beautiful souls blessed this earth too short, and they left huge impacts on my heart and life, and I wanted to pay homage to them by naming them for my passion for early diagnosis and treatment of autoimmune diseases to limit their early morbidity and mortality on people suffering from them. Shawnee was one of my best friends growing up. Her and my parents were friends, and I don't ever remember her not being in my life. Shawnee was diagnosed with scleroderma at the age of 8 or 9, and that was rare. Shawnee was told that her life expectancy was 16 years of age, but she lived her life to the fullest and never missed out on anything, good or bad. Shawnee passed away at 29, and it was her love of life and spirit of never giving up that I want the world to know that she was one of the bravest people I knew growing up. Sharon, or Shay as we called her, was my husband's Pat's sister. They were 4 years apart, but we always said they were twins. She suffered from sarcoidosis that later attacked her neurological system, which ultimately took her quality of life and her life. Sharon asked me over and over to have someone look at her medical file to find an early diagnosis and treatment for sarcoidosis. The medical system failed her in many ways, and it is this reason that she wanted to find a treatment or cure for it. Nicola Bartholomew Caveza was our best friend and neighbor, who was also a manager in laundry at our regional hospital. Nick had an infectious laugh and had the biggest heart. Nick and Pat tinkered in his garage working on their trucks, puttering around, or having fun golfing. Nick died in 2020 and will be forever missed and loved by many. My husband Pat suffers from psoriatic arthritis, which is an autoimmune disease that is taking away his quality of life. I worked with pediatrics taking care of type 1 diabetes, which is also an autoimmune disease. Understanding how these diseases cause early morbidity and mortality in young and old people makes me want to find a way for early diagnosis and treatment with the goal of remission or cure. Currently, Big Pharma has these drugs priced out of reach of the average person, and only people with drug plans can afford treatment. This causes people to suffer early complications from treatable conditions. And it is because of this that we will be investing in providing good competitive research and development employment into these diseases with the goal of minimal cost to people to receive these life-saving medicines. This is the opposite of our current pharma system that runs on profits at all costs, even people. Element 1, Earth Disposal 7 Gen program for B developed will be mirroring Canada, as we should have very similar infrastructure and education levels with the appropriate engineering courses. Democratic developing countries will be invested in, and this investment for Developing Country Startup, or DCS tithe, will help pay for the Earth Disposal tax processing plants and programs. Developing countries will go through 2 phases. Phase 1 only includes the Earth Disposal tax investment from the tithe from the partnering countries. Once all the programming is up and running, developing countries with investments into middle-class jobs, full-time work, and with pensions and benefits, they will have moved a developing country to a developed country, and that is phase 2. These investments will give people a reason to stay and live in their countries instead of immigrating. These jobs will help slow the flow of illegal immigration, while also giving job opportunities in the countries they immigrate to. B developed, C developing countries, or disposal tax, EDT, 7 Gens, Program Number 1, Women and Children's Health and Reproductive Care Clinics. Women and girls' access to reproductive care, birth control, including safe abortions, is non-negotiable. Since Roe was overturned in the United States, I have equalized the percentage of women health with developing countries, as this ruling is going to kill or maim women and girls across America unnecessarily and impact their ability to participate in education and employment settings, while also taking away their their ability to decide how many kids they want. And it is so funny how all of the burden and punishment are on the women or their care providers, while the men responsible for these pregnancies walk away with no responsibility. What women do with their bodies is no one's business but her and her care providers, not the government, not religious men, not anybody. Now, with the new administration being sworn in January 2025 with the goal of implementing Project 2025, it is even more important to stand by our non-negotiable criteria of equality for all, including bodily autonomy for all. A nationwide ban will have devastating impact on women and girls' human rights. We will invest in programs or businesses that provide sexual health care, including safe abortions. Such businesses we will invest in are called our Planned Parenthood. Money will also be used to help with transportation to other states to get this care. It is a violation of women and girls' rights to deny them autonomy over their bodies, but to also deny them the health care that they have consented to receive to prevent life change, disability, or death is criminal. In this article, a dramatic rise in pregnant women dying in Texas after the abortion ban, it explains that exclusive analysis finds the rate of maternal deaths in Texas increased 56% from 2019 to 2022, compared with just 11% nationwide during the same time period. Think about that. These are people, someone's daughter, sisters, wife, partner, mother, aunt. There's someone, and this is absolutely criminal to allow them to die unnecessarily. And this is not including the emotional, physical, and spiritual trauma that they will suffer the rest of their lives. The reason for equal investments was even before Roe was overturned on minority women was 3 or 4 times more likely to die in childbirth than their non-minority sisters, a rating of an outcome equal to a developing nation, and this should not be happening. The difference in the investments will be that in developing countries, they will have student residences built beside the medical clinics so that they can focus on training and not worry about meals and housing. The goal is to have medical clinics, but also mobile buses to provide care in rural areas to vulnerable women and children. The next Earth Disposal Tax program I will discuss is B, developed country, C, developing countries. Earth Disposal Tax, EDT, 7 Gens, program number 2, Clean Water Initiative, desalination plants, and sanitation. Clean, safe, drinkable water is a priority for G.G.D.I and 7 Gens, and there are 4 areas where there will be investments made into clean water. Access to clean, drinkable water is a human right and helps prevent communicable disease. We will build large desalination plants across our partnering countries to be able to have the ability to make large amounts of water at one time. Our seas and our oceans are rising, so this is a good place to build our system for access to safe, drinkable water. The next program I will briefly speak of is B, developed country, C, developing countries. Earth Disposal Tax, EDT, 7 Gens, program number 3, stop food wastage, affordable healthy foods, and a pathway for compost. We need to come to terms that the current way industry is poisoning us with chemicals and unripened agriculture is causing a sick global world, and we need to change to one that is local and sustainable to all environmental and global changes. Also, the need to reduce our global transportation footprint around the world, trucking agriculture from across continents. It is time to grow what we can locally so that our food is as nutrient dense and chemical free as possible, but provides good paying middle class jobs while providing communities with affordable foods. This will enable us to only transport agricultural products native to other countries. We will also have a pathway designed so that all of our food and scraps have a place to go so that we can make our system as efficient and sustainable as possible. In order to stop food wastage, you need to have pathways for it to go through right until it becomes compost. At the top in this diagram, you will see the farm and orchard, harvest when ripe and ready for sale. This will improve the quality and nutrients of our food, impacting our long-term health. The produce will be sold to markets, restaurants, and grocers, and sold as a raw or cooked product to customers. It should be against the law to throw away leftover food in the landfill like France does, and we should be picking up twice a week or as many times as necessary from the individual businesses or food banks. The other destinations will be for food banks, daily pickup, such as for school, food programs, compostable single-use items, and raw materials to be picked up for shelters. To make healthy meals, any leftover from these programs go to local farms for animal feed to help them with their costs, to get their costs down so that they can pass on that savings to the public. Later to be sent for composting to be sold locally to residents or donated to shelters or community gardens. To get rid of landfills, we need to ensure that every part of our garbage has a place to go, and food waste is a huge problem, but also we should not be throwing food away while we have people starving. The waste and consumption to keep our 1% rich while destroying our soil for future generations has to stop. In this article is more than 5 years old now. The world needs topsoil to grow 95% of its food, but it's rapidly disappearing. If we continue to degrade our soil at the rate we are now, the world could run out of topsoil in about 60 years, according to Maria Helena Semedo of the UN's Food and Agricultural Organization. Without topsoil, the Earth's ability to filter water, absorb carbon, and feed people plunges. Not only that, but the food that we do grow will probably be lower in vital nutrients. So our collective future of how we produce, harvest, and grow our food has to change. We don't need to mass produce food that we know will end up in the landfill, but build a seamless system so that we have the ability to feed the 99% in perpetuity. We also have to improve our health by ensuring our food is properly ripened, removing all chemicals from our food chain. This will stop our current food chain from killing us. I will now talk about element 2, A, Canada, B, developed, C, developing countries, instant earth investment rebate, IEIR, 7 gens, program number 1. Stop all clothes from entering the landfill, sort and drop off at depots to be transported to factories, to be manufactured into fabric for resale, or clean incineration, or however it is best decided to manage this toxic waste. We need to find and build pathways for all of our used clothing and scraps for clothing manufacturing to go. They should not be dumped into our landfills to then leach their toxins and dyes into our land and groundwater. This investment will help clean up the mess and make this waste product back into a resellable product or clean energy. In order to stop our dumps and landfills, every piece of garbage needs to have a processing plant, and clothes are a huge problem for every country. There will be no purchasing of old clothes to processing plants, and this was done by design because the average person throws away over 70 pounds of clothes a year, and the amount of sorting and prepping by removing buttons and zippers will be a huge cost. We will build water treatment plants at our factories to prevent pollution of our water from the chemicals and dyes. Our factories will be environmentally responsible. By not having to pay for old material will enable us to not have the extra cost on our finished products. The whole idea is to pass on savings to the average person, industry, and government. We will also gift some of the recycled material to program number 2 that I will speak of, but it is definitely time to end fashion clothes from entering the landfill. The next instant earth investment rebate, IEIR program I'm going to speak of, A, Canada, B, developed, C, developing countries, instant earth investment rebate, IEIR 7 gens, program number 2. Donated material from number 1 to make period products for girls and women for free. There will also be gifting material to be made into period products from program number 1, because no woman, girl, or person should miss work or school because of their periods. This gifting donation is a part of our social responsibility to the system as a whole. Money made should always be returned into the system to be used for good causes. The clothes collected and transported to fabric processing plants will later be sold for resale. This produces a micro sales system, or more money to be paid towards fixed costs, programming, or expanding material factories. Unlike our other recycled depots, we will not be paying for people to recycle their clothes. We will recycle them, because it is a huge part of our landfill problem, and in order to fix the problem, we need to have a place for this material to be processed. Otherwise, it still needs to be buried in the landfill. The donated fabric will keep our costs down, and we will look at this donation as a charitable donation so that there will be a tax break for those factories. We will hire seamstresses and hire at a rate for their skill with benefits and pensions. The goal is to see if we can change the face of manufacturing, to look at the skills and provide a livable wage. We will make the products free for all women, girls, and people, because our bodies should not hold us back from being a part of society for any reason, especially from lack of access to period products. We will have research and development to look into the used clothes that will be made into feminine products to make sure that we remove all the cancerous chemicals and toxins that our current feminine producers put in our products that menstruators use, impacting our long and short-term health. The next program I will be discussing is Instant Earth Investment Rebate, A, Canada, B, developed, C, developing countries, Instant Earth Investment Rebate, IEIR, 7 gens, program number 3, expand current rest stops, tourist stops, hire cleaning staff, and put mini museums with accurate First Nation history for landmarks. Pat and I have traveled a lot with our children for sports, concerts, and vacations. And one thing that has stuck out in my mind was a rest stop on our way to Toronto that was so stinky and dirty that I swore that I would make it a priority to show our pride in our country. Each stop will have cleaning staff so that when they are used, travelers will see that we take pride in our land and people. Accurate history teaching is so important because in order to learn from history and never repeat it, we need to know what really happened. Understanding the paths of other nations that they have traveled will also promote empathy and healing for all. Our colonized system has failed to tell an accurate history of Canada and other countries as well. By bringing forth an accurate history of our First Nation people and other oppressed nations, we will be showing our respect for the history before colonization and also what happened after colonization. And we will be honest about our government and the church's attempted genocide against First Nation people and educate the rest of society on their beautiful spiritual traditional teachings and learnings. This recognition will help our First Nation people heal from the damage of our terrible past. The next program, Instant Earth Investment Rebate, IEIR, A, Canada, B, Develop, C, Developing Countries. Program number 4, make animal overpasses to make our highways and railways safer for both humans and animals. In our travels to and from Dryden, my hometown, Pat and I have hit 2 moose and almost 1 bear. We were just lucky that at the time there was no other vehicles on the road or we would have been seriously injured or killed. This next IEIR program is only for B, Developed, and C, Developing, Instant Earth. This is where we will invest to help with the transition to green energy, clean water transport, and affordable travel. Instant Earth Investment Rebate, IEIR 7 Gens, Program number 5, the Karen McCarthy Lightspeed Generating Water Rail System, CMLSGWRS. You've already heard of this in the system in Earth Disposal Tax 7 Gens Program 1. We need to help support our partnering countries to transition to green energy as quickly as possible. And this is the investment to do this. The largest green energy generating station that will carry electricity and clean water across countries. We need to find a substitute for our coal and nuclear power plants, and this is one of the goals of this investment. Find the best and largest way to utilize our ability to collect green energy from solar, night, wind, hydroelectric, and collect power from the rails. Our collective future of the world depends on us making the uncomfortable changes needed to ensure that our world is sustainable, regardless of how long it takes and how much it costs. Our fossil fuel industry is not going to be happy about this, but we can't keep consuming our limited natural resources because our children and future generations depend on us. We will build and expand our ability to collect energy away from city centers so that we don't disturb their expansion. Once up and running with 0 energy costs, extra energy generated will be sold back to the grid. Fresh water carried will be at a discounted price to make it affordable for all people. Ticket sales will pay for costs as well, and extra money to be then reinvested back into the system or funneled to number 6, health and social programming. The next element I'm going to speak of is A, Canada, B, Develop, C, Developing, element 3, tourist footprint tax, TFT, 7 Gens program number 1. Expand wetlands, sacred lands, migration and breeding areas on land and water so that we can prevent our expansion being the extinction of any ecosystem and the living life forms inhabiting them. In order for species to remain healthy, we need to protect them from us and our greed. In our new world, we will consider all effects of our development. It won't matter the cost as long as we are morally and ethically responsible for our actions and the earth. The next program is Tourist Footprint Tax, A, Canada, B, Develop, C, Developing Countries, Tourist Footprint Tax, TFT, 7 Gens number 2, stop all contracts that threaten to devastate an ecosystem and use money to heal. No money will be spared to protect our world. Greed will no longer be the goal. It will be to protect us at all costs. Gone are the days that the 1% can commit human rights violations and not be held accountable. We will use this money for the betterment of all. Next program, A, Canada, B, Develop, C, Developing Country, Tourist Footprint Tax, TFT, 7 Gens, program number 3. Clean waterways and beaches so that they are viable places where migration and breeding grounds will be protected as well. We have to be responsible to all living life forms, and the way we are treating our world is at the detriment of others. And that can no longer be common practice. We need to bring ethical and moral accountability to our system and that includes all creatures that inhabit this beautiful earth. In this next element, I will be speaking of them together because they are linked. A. Canada. B. Developed. C. Developing countries. 7 Gen. Sales. Number 1. Air. And number 2. Water filtration systems for industry to achieve zero pollution and emissions. We will expect that industry will work with our research and development to stop the deliberate poisoning and polluting of everything around their businesses and clean up their emissions. No longer will the 1% be able to continue their negligence of responsibility for their businesses, and they will be taxed higher based on their output of pollution and toxins. We will use this money to help them clean up their emissions, such as the air, land, and water, but they will be expected to invest in cleaning up their mess. If they don't, we will work with the government to hold known polluters accountable until they clean up their mess. No longer will we tolerate their unethical practices, and they won't be able to flaunt their greed while contributing to the killing of the masses. If industry does not want to fix their mess, then they will become the new dinosaurs of our world, no longer able to buy their way out of responsibility and accountability by ignoring their negligence. It speeds up our global destruction, and we can no longer support their corruption at our expense. The next element I'm going to speak of is A. Canada. B. Developed. C. Developing countries. Interest. 7 Gens. Program number 1. Universal Pension Plan, or UPP. The programs we will invest in are the ones in this system, and we will be looking 7 generations ahead, so our stocks will do amazing. This will enable us to offer a universal pension plan designed for all different occupations to reduce and prevent senior poverty. It is time to take care of our workers for the long term, and it is time to demand more and better from our 1%. They cut jobs, benefits, sick day, pensions so that they can keep their shareholders happy and their pockets lined with unethical practice. But that form of structure is no longer going to be tolerated. The 1%'s workers give their lives, sweat, and tears to them, and in return the 1% try their hardest to make our lives hell. But that form of structure can no longer be tolerated. We need to move to a system that respects all aspects of the system and rewards workers for their service. A. Canada. B. Developed. C. Developing country. Interest. 7 Gens. Program number 2. 7 Gens Global Lending Fund. We will build a financial system that is non-predatory, non-discriminatory, so that all people have access to funding that will improve everyone's lives and get rid of poverty in our partnering countries. It will be the exact opposite of our current system. This next program could not come at a better time. Our current corruption from the 1% and the autocratic dictatorship-led countries supported by the current occupant of the White House to benefit them personally is at our global expense. This form of structure needs to not be supported anymore. In A. Canada. B. Developed. And C. Developing country. 7 Gens. Program number 3. Strengthen democracies around the world. It is imperative to invest in strengthening democracies around the world and to defend each other. We are watching the current occupant of the White House turn his back and his administration on allies, and he has turned to autocratic and dictatorship-led countries at the expense of global peace, allowing Putin and Israel to commit war crimes while buddying up and building an alliance with the axis of hate has made Canada and our allies realize that the old world order is over, and we have to build one that reflects our sovereign and human rights. We have to realize that until the American people wake up and stop their country from becoming a dictatorship-led country, their administration is a threat to world peace and order. We have to protect us from them and their axis of hate they are building with these countries that are destroying our world and causing the financial global collapse to gain more financial control of the world, while stealing land and resources from other countries. Ukraine is an example of that tag teaming from Russia and the current occupant of the White House, wanting to steal Ukraine's precious resources for the current occupant of the White House and land for Putin, bullying countries to steal their precious resources because they have said that those who own the precious resources will control the future. And the disgusting talk of making Canada the 51st state and calling our Prime Minister governor shows how low the current occupant of the White House will go to gain more power to inflate his ego. Now the talk to displace the Palestinians while they commit war crimes and genocide against them so Israel can steal the land and the current occupant of the White House can build real estate is criminal and needs to be stopped. That is not their land, and this is criminal, and their actions are war crimes, supported by the 1%. The days of sitting back and putting our future in the hands of others are gone. We are responsible for our destiny, and having all of our partnering countries support one another in times of threat will stop this kind of bullying and hate. He has also said that he wants to get the U.S. out of NATO, so it is time to have a substitute for this very important partnership. That is what this money will be used for, strengthening our democratic countries against the current current occupant of the White House, Russia, North Korea, Saudi Arabia, and China, as well as terrorist groups. The final area that 7gens and G.G.D.I will funnel are all the same. Any money left over will be put towards any social programming to improve our lives. A, Canada. B, develop. C, developing. Number 6, health and social programming. These programs don't need explanation, so I will go through the list. Number 1, monies that are going to fund supports for children with disabilities and their families throughout the child's lifespan. Number 2, adult programming for all people with disabilities and those that transition out of pediatric programming, so that this funding and support continues for the lifetime. Number 3, federally funded pharmacare for all people with diabetes. Goal is a full pharmacare program. Number 4, free daycare with extended daycare hours for shift work. The goal is free, or $10 a day. Number 5, housing for homeless people. Number 6, addictions and trauma support workers for those transitioning to community housing. Number 7, counseling coverage. Number 8, increased funding for EMTs. Number 9, invest in rapid access programs for mental health crisis calls with police. Number 10, eye coverage for all. Number 11, dental coverage for all. Each of these elements and programs will help heal humanity and move our world to sustainability, but will also meet our goal of saving our world faster. We can't wait or delay. Our time of abusing our world is coming to an end. Either we continue to do what we're doing and guarantee this, or we can make the hard and painful decision to support a system that will fix all areas that will ensure that we and our children have better lives. As you can see, there are many programs in the system, and this is required because being single-minded in our system, we will never reach our goal or goals to pass on a sustainable world for our kids. Most of the system is integrated with G.G.D.I, but that will keep both systems accountable to the masses. I encourage all people to get involved, spread the word, share my videos, and purchase the textbook so that I can start hiring people to bring this gift to fruition. The purchase of the book is a way to support our global dream of equality and equity for all. My website will be up and running soon, and there will be a donation area on there, and at the beginning, it will be to help me build my corporation. First target will be to hire a lawyer so that I can file and do the paperwork for a nonprofit and charity application. I will also be raising money for the cost of the websites, IT, and will have to hire an assistant to help me with setting it up. Currently, I'm writing the scripts, taping, editing long and short form videos, posting, and all of this is a full-time job. But in order to really start promoting the book and corporation and philosophy, I need to get help to get things up and running. I also need to get the word out to have people understand to purchase the textbook. And on my website, I will have an ebook for sale that will be at a discounted rate that I can't offer anywhere else. I'm so excited about this. There is so much to do and not long to do it. So thanks for taking the time to learn about my dream for us, the 99%, and to have our best life. Please can follow me and share my videos on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and follow and subscribe to my YouTube channels at Sammy71Earth, at Global Green Democracy Initiative, and at 7gens. You can also follow and subscribe to my newsletter that will be up and available soon in 2025. You can sign up on my waiting list on my website when it's up and running. Thanks again.